What's up, guys? It's Matt once again, and welcome back to the Pop Complex. Alright guys, once again, welcome back to the Pop Complex. Today I wanted to take some time and share with you some of my recent vintage video game pickups. But first, before I do, I want to get a little serious and share with you a very tragic story. Years ago, my childhood Super Nintendo stopped working. And I got rid of it. Unfortunately, along with all of my childhood Super Nintendo games. So, that's given me a wonderful opportunity now to rebuild my Super Nintendo cartridge collection, not only the games that I had as a kid, but also some of the games that I've played before, maybe at a cousin's house, or maybe a game that I rented on occasion, and those games that I definitely wanted as a kid, but unfortunately was never able to get. So I'm slowly rebuilding that collection, and I'm going to share a little bit of that with you guys today. But for the most part, I have been building my NES collection. Now, as a kid, I was never able to own an NES. I usually played NES games at a cousin's house, so I never had an NES. My first console was the Super Nintendo, and my very first game was Super Mario World, which was the pack-in game at the time for the system. So that was my first ever game that I had on my own, was Super Mario World. So that game means a lot to me, holds a special place in my heart. So today I'm going to share with you some of my recent vintage video game pickups that include Nintendo games, Super Nintendo games, and maybe a surprise or two. So, all right, guys, let's get started. So first I have here the original Super Mario Brothers. This was released originally in 1985 in Japan, but the release date is kind of up in the air as far as when it was actually released in North America. So some say it could be around 1987 when the NES hit the North American market, but it did come out in 1985 in Japan. So this was the game that started it all. I used to play this at a cousin's house, and I just could never get enough of it. And I actually play this game quite a bit now. This is actually one of my favorite vintage video games, is the original Mario Brothers. Now, this is not the cartridge that also has Duck Hunt. I really wanted the Super Mario Brothers game on its own cartridge. So here it is. It's in pretty decent shape. I'm pretty particular when it comes to picking up these vintage cartridges now about condition, because I'm not only picking them up to play on a vintage console, but I'm also picking them up as a collector as well. So condition does mean a lot. So carrying on with the Mario, we also have the next game, Super Mario Brothers 2. Now, I played this game quite a bit as well at a cousin's house, so I have a fondness for this game as well. Now, this game did come out in North America in 1988. It was not the same Super Mario Brothers 2 that was released in Japan. That one was actually not released until Super Mario All-Stars for the Super Nintendo, and it was rebranded as the Lost Levels because Super Mario Brothers 2 already had this title in North America at that time. So very good game. I'm glad to pick this up as well. And to round out the Mario Brothers trilogy for NES, we have Super Mario Brothers 3. Now, this game I never played as a kid, so I never really was able to get the full experience of it. So rediscovering this game as an adult, I absolutely love it. It's a wonderful game, and it's just so well done. There's so many things to do and explore and find, and just the power-ups, the raccoon tail, the Tanuki suit. It's just an amazing game. I consider it probably the best Mario game on the NES, hands down. All right, moving on, guys. So, as you guys know, I'm a big, huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan from when I was a kid. So, this game I never actually had a chance to play either because I never had an NES. But the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for NES, picked this game up. So I've actually not yet had a chance to play this game. I know. But I will get a chance to appreciate and play this game. But I definitely had to have this game not only as an NES collector, but as a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan from way back as a kid, and a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles collector as well. Now we have Jaws for the NES. So I know this is one of those great games that's made by LJN. So as you guys know from James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, that any game that bears the LJN Rainbow of Death is certainly to be a horrible, horrible game. But you know, I picked this up because I'm a huge fan of Jaws, and as an NES collector, you just have to have this game in your collection. So I've never played this game, but I've seen a lot of gameplay online of it being played, and I know it's pretty bad, but I had to have this game. Speaking of really bad vintage video games, I did pick up, because it was such a great price, I did pick up Hydlide. Now, I've never played this game, but I've seen it played. To me, it looks sort of like a generic action-adventure RPG type game, sort of like in the same vein as Zelda, but nowhere near as good. But it was a really great price. It's in really good condition, so I had to pick this one up. And moving on, this is the final NES game that, well, no, actually, no, it's not. This is next to the last NES game that I have to show you guys that I did pick up. So I have Friday the 13th. Now, I know this also has LJN, and a lot of people consider this a really bad vintage video game as well. But I've played this game quite a bit, and I like it. I'm, a big fan of Friday the 13th, a big fan of Jason. I'm a big fan of the the purple and teal NES style Jason. Why they made him that color in the game, still up in the air, but I'm a big fan. And this game takes a certain strategy to play. There's a certain number of things you have to do in a certain order to collect and to go and to get. So there's a strategy to it. I know a lot of people discount it as a bad game, but I think it's just really misunderstood. The gameplay is really misunderstood, and that turns a lot of people off. But I actually enjoy this bad vintage video game. All right, guys, so the final NES game that I'm going to show you guys here is The Legend of Zelda. So this is the Legend of Zelda. Of course, these were released with the gold cartridge. That was the standard release. I did pick this one up because it's been hard to find one of these in really good condition because of the gold cartridge. The gold rubs off, gets scuffed very easy. A lot of times you'll find this game in horrible condition. So this is the best one that I've ever found. So I did want to pick it up because I have not been able to find one in this good of a condition. It's not perfect by any means, but it's really good. It's a really good example of this game. All right, guys, that concludes the NES recent pickups. So let's move on to my Super Nintendo recent pickups. So now we have Super Empire Strikes Back. So this was released in about 1993, I believe. And it was the second in the Star Wars trilogy for Super Nintendo. The Super Star Wars trilogy. There was Super Star Wars, Super Empire Strikes Back, and Super Return of the Jedi. Now, I actually have played this game quite a bit. I remember renting this game as a kid and playing it. And I've played it quite a bit on emulators. It's an extremely hard game, but it is enjoyable. If you're a fan of Star Wars, especially the original trilogy, this is an enjoyable game, but it is pretty difficult. The difficult level is pretty high up there, along with the other two in the trilogy. Now, I did actually have Super Return of the Jedi as a kid for Super Nintendo, so hopefully I'll be able to find the other two games to complete this trilogy as well. All right, now this next game, I've already talked about it. I've been looking for a really good condition example, and I finally found one. So we have the game that started it all for me, Super Mario World. This game right here. This one in particular is in really good condition. This was the first pack-in title for the Super Nintendo, so this was released in North America in 1991. My cartridge did come with my Super Nintendo. It was packed in, like I said, so it was the first game that I ever owned for Super Nintendo, the first game that I ever played for Super Nintendo. So right here, this holds a lot of sentimental value for me, and I was really glad that I was able to pick up this first release edition of this in this good of a condition. All right, and the final Super Nintendo game that I did pick up was another extreme favorite of mine as a kid, and I had all three of these. I had the entire trilogy, and this is a wonderful, wonderful trilogy of games. I can still consider it some of the best Super Nintendo games. But here's the original Donkey Kong Country game that was released in 1994 for the Super Nintendo. I did get this for Christmas that year, and Christmas of 95, I did get Donkey Kong Country 2, and then Christmas of 96, I did get Donkey Kong Country 3. So I did have all three of these games, so it's really good to be able to pick up the original Donkey Kong Country to start my trilogy all over again, picking these up. All right, guys, that concludes my NES and Super NES recent vintage game pickups. So I do have one more surprise for you guys I wanted to show you. I thought this was really cool. Now, I never had an Atari growing up. That was before I was even born when the Atari was out. That was in the early 80s. So I never had an Atari, but I had to pick this up when I found it. There's a lot of controversy and legend that surrounds this game. It's been labeled the worst video game of all time, and I'm sure you guys may know what I'm talking about by now. But here it is, guys. E.T. for the Atari 2600. Now I got an incredible deal on this, and it's in amazing condition. I mean, the label is just bright and glossy. The cartridge itself is in amazing condition. It looks almost like it has never been played, and if whoever owned this found out how bad the game was from anyone else, they probably never played it. But here it is, guys. I had to pick this up. This is worth picking up for any vintage video game collection, just for the legendary status that it has altogether. I've never played this game before. I've seen it played before. Of course, the Angry Video Game Nerd, he did a full episode on this, and there's been a lot of talk about all of the copies that were buried in the dump, in the landfill, and all that. But you guys can go research that on your own. I'm not going to get into that, but I had to pick this up. I thought it was really cool to get one in such amazing condition for an Atari 2600 game, because this game came out in 1983, I'm pretty sure. So it's pretty old. It's now the oldest vintage video game that I own, and I thought it was really cool to have this and to pick this up because of its legendary status. So that concludes all of my vintage video game pickups, guys. Hit that like button if you like this video. Comment down below and let me know what you think. Tell me about your guys' vintage video game collection, and please subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell so you'll be notified anytime I upload a new video. The Pop Complex uploads videos all the time, so anything from retro video games to movies, TV, toy hauls, unboxings, the Pop Complex has it, guys. So once again, thanks for watching, and this is the Pop Complex.